Hey there, I'm Smear, and today I will be showing you how to draw shoulders, or mostly focusing on drawing shoulders anyway. This video is for my friend Ria, but anyone is free to use it. I don't know how long it's going to be, and this is going to be majorly unedited. So, actually, first, let's discuss the layout here. Firstly, this is my streaming software. It is called OBS, Open Broadcaster Software, and over here is where we're going to have the images that we're going to be using for reference. They will all be linked down in the description below in order of how they're going to be used. And as a warning, there is nudity in some of these images, and let's cycle through them really quick and give a brief overview of what each one is going to be used for. Alright, so first here we have a anatomical drawing of the shoulder as well as the clavicle. Here, to the left, is the posterior or the back of the shoulder. This is the muscle that will connect to the shoulder blade. This is the muscle that goes kind of around and under your neck, which, well, not the muscle, the bone, duh. We'll be describing that more as we actually get into this. And the anterior, or the front, is, this is the clavicle. This is the part where your neck connects into. This is the muscle that's under the pectoral, I believe, and the humerus is the upper arm bone. And here, as you can see, this is the bone that connects to the back here. And, alright, like I said, there's going to be nudity, so let's cycle through the other images. Here's some basic comparison for the different biological sexes, and we'll be going through the differences with more detail as we go. Here are some different neck views of how the clavicle works when it connects into the neck and at a different angle, and when it's kind of stretched up like that, and as well as on a more muscular man. Here we have a side view of the shoulder when it's stretched out, and here we have a back view of the shoulder. This is that bone. This is this bone right here. As you can see, it is under here, and then there's a muscle that, if you're muscular enough, that kind of arches out over it, and that's where it connects into the neck. And then we have different views of the shoulder, and some more contrasting images that show the musculature more, as well as, this is a really generic one I found, but it shows different positions, like this arm is raised, this one is down, but also kind of reaching back. This is how the shoulder looks when it is shrugging, when the arm is up, and we have a good view of the armpit and what that's going to look like. When the arms are up from behind, as well as on a more muscular man. And then another good one here where you don't have to be so afraid of drawing the creases in the, the arm, so don't be afraid to add stuff like that. So let's get into it. Well, actually, down here, we're going to be listening to some music. That's where what's going to be playing is listed, and over here is where we're going to be drawing. If you're curious about this program, it is Paint Tool Sai. I'm going to be using the brush tool and probably alternating between a couple different colors for difference, and I am using the stabilizer so that my lines aren't so jagged and gross. So that said, I'm going to start playing some music now, and let's do this. So this is my first kind of video I've ever done like this, so I'm sorry if it's not too coherent, but as we can see, here's the back as is here. You can see it right here on this woman because it kind of goes forward, and then here's the clavicle, and the neck would be coming right out, but you can't see it because her head is in the way. This is actually Yolandi from Die Antwoord, because I just recently watched the video that I'm like, ooh, those are some nice shoulders. So I guess what we can do is we can draw, a basic understanding of this, and just kind of try to translate it. Go somewhere good here. And then here we're going to have the neck, and then this is going to be that bone that kind of goes up, and then here's that bone, and then the shoulders curve over, as you can see, and then we have the neck coming down, and then there's the spine and stuff like that, and then the muscles come in, and then we have the shoulder blades, and that is the easy way to draw the back when there's no like arm lifting or anything like that going on. And then as you can see, I made my neck a little too skinny. There's where the head would come in. Ew. But yeah, my skills lie in actually drawing people. So here we have a man. As you can see, his shoulders are much more broader than the woman's over here, and it may just be because of her weight, but her clavicle is more defined. And as you can see, the picture quality is terrible, but you can see that his neck is thicker, and you can see the veins a bit more on the neck, but on the woman you can see more of the collarbone. So when it comes to drawing that, let's copy this image right here and expand the size of this really quick. So as you can see, they do look a bit different, you know, dimorphic sex characteristics, and boom. Let's start out with how people commonly draw necks. They will draw them going into the shoulders and make a line like that, and just, you know, it'll just look all blocky and stuff, and that's not what we want. As you can see, the shoulder connects to the neck smoothly. So here we have a head, and we have the neck, but it curves in a bit. It's not all straight and blocky either. And then for the shoulder, you can see it's going to like curve out. And then we have the clavicle, which may or may not be defined. It depends on what the person you're drawing is like, or if you're just sketching. And then the shoulders usually connect smoothly into that when they're relaxed. And sometimes, as you can see by the shadow here, you can even see a little bit under the clavicle, but that's not always the case. And sometimes you're going to see the veins. Something I like to note when you draw veins on the neck connecting, it's important to note that the jugulars usually come to a connect where that V section is of the clavicle. I don't know what the technical term for that is, but if you want to draw a more defined kind of veiny look to a neck, if the person is skinny, then you're going to want to connect the jugulars with the V part of the collarbone. It just, I don't know, I think it just looks nice, and also that's kind of how it is anyway. So it really depends on how muscular the person is that you want to draw. So, and that was a more feminine figure we just drew. So let's focus more on the muscular one here. And this is, again, these are just all really simple drawings at first. So we're going to want to just take the rough head again really quick. This one's going to be a bit more blocky. It's really rough. And we're going to want it to start more out like the width of the head rather than more in like what's on the other one, to give the illusion of a thicker neck. And the curve isn't as gradual, but the shoulders do tend to slope more down, I've noticed. And then from here is where we can connect the clavicle in. Because here, usually with muscular men and stuff like that, I've also noticed, like, oh, and here's the Adam's apple. They also, you can see this part a bit more. It kind of sinks in a little bit depending. We can't really see that through his shirt, but that's also something that really depends on the weight of the person you want to do. This video isn't going to cover fat distribution or anything like that, but there's definitely a lot of resources out there if you want to learn how to draw people of different weights and stuff like that. So now that that one's out of the way, let's continue on to our next one. Here we have two more defined people as far as their shoulders and the structure goes, because the contrast of the shadows is really high in this image. So let's start out with the more feminine figure again. We can see a better example of how the vein here follows that kind of V shape I was talking about before. So let's try again. We're going to draw just the bottom of the jaw this time since we're zoomed in. And we're going to go ahead and draw the curves of the neck, because as you can see, it slopes in a little bit because necks aren't stiff. They need to be able to move. And then here it curves out, and that's what we're going to be doing here. And then here is where the clavicle connects to the arm, and as you can see, they kind of go in a bit because her arms, either they look more shrugged to me or she's more relaxed. I can't really tell, but the clavicle like has this like slope to it as it goes inward. And for those who may not know, clavicle is another word for collarbone, but most people know that, I find. And then that kind of connects into the shoulder because there's the slope of the neck, which we did here. And then here is the clavicle, and then it connects to a single line at the arm. So we're going to go ahead and draw that. You'll find shoulders are round. And if it helps, before you do that, you could even draw like just a flat out circle here. And that'll help you get the curvature of that. And with shoulders, actually let's draw some rough veins here really quick. You'll tend to find that they connect to the breast, but it doesn't just connect and then it's all boob, right? It connects, but then there's a soft shadow here of the side, because, you know, not all breasts are big enough to kind of like hide that whole side of the body. Sorry, I'm just redrawing this because I didn't like it before. So let's finish up and draw the other shoulder over here. And then here's the part that kind of curves in, and as you can see, sometimes it like folds with a little bit of fat there. It doesn't show it too much in the image except for over here. There's not so much shadow. And then we're going to have the arms on the side over here, but we're focusing on how it connects to the breast, so we're not going to worry about that. And they don't have to be too big when we're drawing, because we just want to get that kind of out of the way. Some breasts are different sizes, oh well. And then we have the arm over here, and as you can see, the shadow would come down here, and that looks like a really skinny arm now that I'm looking at it. Let's move the boob over. Also, as you draw, don't be afraid to like change the size of things and edit them and whatnot, because, you know, it's just practice. Say the arm is like out over here actually, so we'd see, you know, the side of the rib, which these are just rough guidelines. You wouldn't actually like see a rib that defined or anything like that. So there's a line here, there's the line for the arm, but sometimes they don't connect fully unless it's like out or whatnot. So oh jeez. And let's try that again with the guy over here who has wider shoulders and smaller breasts that are, you know, not breasts, but so let's start out with the bottom of his head over here, and you can see his neck is more straighter than hers, and the slope is less gradual and smooth than over here, because the shoulders are wider. So we're going to go down with his neck. It's going to be thicker, connect to the jaw more, and as you can see, this goes down here, so it's not going straight into here, but it goes down and then connects, and then the collarbone is here, and we'll work on that slowly over here. So as you can see, here's the neck, and then we're going to draw the slope over here, and then he's going to kind of go off the page a bit over here. With the next couple images, we will put them in different spots. Oh, did that wrong. Collarbones on male people are usually a bit straighter depending on their body type, but like on her it kind of curves in more, but on him it's super flat. But it could also just be their positioning, but it's important to know that different people come in different shapes and stuff like that. So here we can see his neck kind of comes here. You can see that muscle here. So we'll shade that in to differentiate, and the more I think about it, the less I like how that looks over there, so we're going to redraw that really quick. And wow, there we go. So we're going to bring that down here, we're going to shade that in to differentiate between where it connects, and then we're going to draw the jugular over here, but then we have the Adam's apple, which is hard to make out in this image, but we can just kind of draw that in and then shade the part. Like I said, to differentiate. Not everything is going to be perfect. And as you can see, we can see the bottom of his clavicle right over the line of the chest. So before we go through and actually draw his breasts, we are going to go through, or pecs or whatever, we're going to draw the line where it connects here. But first we're going to move everything because it is just getting off of the canvas here. Cool, okay. So, because we're not really working on the right side here, so I'm just going to erase that since we're focusing on the left side here to show where everything is. And I'm going to deepin that so I can keep everything together. And as we can see, the shoulders are going to be a bit bigger. Let's draw his arms sticking out. And here, similarly, there's going to be skin, there's going to be some folds where, like over here, hers is folded in, his is as well. And you can portray that differently. It really depends on your own tastes when it comes to drawing, like how defined do you want to make things, how realistic you want to make it, but this is focusing on, you know, the more anatomical kind of stuff. But if you wanted to simplify it, let's say, like, let's get another layer of a different color here. You could just, you know, draw the slope and then draw a little bit of the collarbone here and then the apple with the vein. And then to draw that, you could just kind of slope out and then slowly connect it into one line instead of a bunch of tiny ones, which is a lot more simple. But sometimes I find to simplify it, you need to learn how to draw it realistically, or at least to learn simultaneously, so you know what you're doing while at the same time stylizing it to make it more simple. So let's get rid of that, and let's continue drawing with the arm here. So his arm is going to be sticking out, and through here. See, through here's the shoulder, and then this is going to be coming from behind. So this part is behind the arm, but this is where it's going to be the muscle connecting to the rib here. And we're going to draw the same guidelines that we did for the rib cage here. So you're not going to see that through the actual drawing, but you kind of can here, but that's not too important right now. And then you're going to draw coming down here, his waist, but that's just for reference. So yeah, there's that. And then let's move on. So over here, like, you have Yolandi here hunching forward, so you can see the bone that's in the posterior as shown over here. I don't even want to try to pronounce that. And then you can also see her clavicle right right here as it goes in. So let's grab that really quick and see how we could apply that to a drawing. So let's take this, we're going to make it a bit smaller, and for ease of access we are also going to take this image and we're going to slap it next to it so we can keep all the things together and stuff so we can see what we're drawing. And let's make that big again. So let's just check on recording stuff. Ooh. Okay, so let's put that all together. And as you can see, everything is together. Actually, I'm sorry, I just want to move stuff around. so everything is in a place where we can see it. Actually, let's cover the top half of her face. Oops. Because we want it all to be together, so I'm sorry. There's not like a lot of cohesion to this. I'm just kind of going in blind. So let's have a new layer. Maybe this a little bit. And then, okay, so we see her head here, and keep in mind she's hunched forward. So here we are going to have her face. And we're not going to pay too much attention to the detail of the face, because that's not the focus. But, you know, let's say, here's her mouth, and there's a nose, and, so in the red, I'm going to draw where the neck would be coming from, right? Because you're not going to be able to see it as she hunches forward, except for, like, a little bit. I'm going to exaggerate it, because you can't really see it here, except where it rounds. So we're going to show the neck a bit more in our drawing so we can actually tell what's going on. I'm going to darken the outline of the face so we can show you it's actually important. Make an ear for reference. And okay, so here we're going to draw the backs of the shoulder since she's hunching, right? So here, and then it's going to connect to the ball of the shoulder. When you get down, you can draw this for reference, and then here is where it's going to be like the fold of the chest as we saw before. And then you could draw the arms coming in front of the breast, or the breast like coming in front of the arm. It's up to personal preference, I guess, about the pose you're doing. So here, we're going to have the neck come forward, but you're not actually going to see a line like that in the drawing. But for red, we're just going to use reference for where the neck is going to be in this 3D space. And then we're going to have the other shoulder come over here. And then you could draw the ball for that as well, because this shoulder is closer than that one, so it's going to be a bit smaller. And then we're going to draw the lines here as well. They're going to be a bit simplified. And that's where the shoulder would connect to the arm. Then you can see the fat there. And so let's draw more red. We're going to use red really quick to see the posterior. I'm just going to call this the posterior clavicle because it's called the supraspinatus. I'm just going to call it the back clavicle. That's what we're calling it right now, the back clavicle. Okay, so with the back clavicle, we're going to use red references really quick to kind of box that off. As you can see, it leaves kind of like a gutter in the neck. So really quick, let's go through and like put like a small blue outline where that's going to be, and then over here we can see where the shoulder is and where it is going to connect to the clavicle, and then kind of where the neck would be is kind of where this is a bit under. You kind of want to center it, like this is going to be the center, this would be where the breasts meet, stuff like that. So you're going to want to pay attention to where the middle is, and depending on your own personal preference, you're going to want to draw more guidelines and stuff like that. So this is a mess. This is a mess, but that's okay. We can go through and do a cleaner drawing after this example. And then because I have her head a bit up more so we can see the neck, we would also see the jugular coming out from here, and probably the veins showing up a bit more since her neck is probably stretched out, not like sunk into her body. And then just for reference, we can go in and shade where it's going to kind of be guttered in like that, and then you can see the bottom shadow of the clavicle where the breasts would squish together because her arms are going to be folded in, and yeah, you know, so this is going to be a continuous line, and then the pit or the ball socket, whatever, of the arm. This part is this part, okay? Remember that. And as you can see, this goes over, so it's kind of, this is a bow, and this is a bow, and this is the socket, and this is the socket, or the ball, rather. So let's go through and do another really quick sketch of that, but this time without all of the red reference lines. But still probably with a little bit of guidance. So we're going to go through, we're drawing her chin, and here we're going to have a little bit of the neck, and then we're drawing the shoulders sloping, and then here's a bit of a ball for reference, and then this one over here is going to be a bit smaller because she's turned a bit. And then we're going to come up, we're going to have the clavicle, and then we're going to have the back clavicle, and then the neck would come in here. Here's the vein, here's another vein, and just to know she's facing this way. Her head is going to be turned this way for this image, with the nose and eyes. And again, let's draw the arms coming in a bit more. This one is going to be covering the breast a bit. This one is going to be coming in. And then here's the folds of the skin, and it's going to be overlapping with the arm. So, as you can see, like I said, this creates a pit. And that's what you're going to want to remember. Like when a skinnier character, or a chubbier one, I'm not really sure, you can always like see a bit of a pit. It's not always going to be like this deep, but it like depends on who you're drawing, what they're wearing, etc. But it's good to understand the anatomy of what's under the skin so you can get that structure, which is why I have this here. Like even if you want to focus on cartoons, it's a good idea to have an understanding if you want to simplify it. Like let's go and simplify this by tracing over really quick. So give me a minute to do that. See, like even if it's simplified, you're still gonna want to like have like at least like the lines here to convey where everything, you know, is. So, you know, whatever. And next, boom, we just have another example of how it creates a pit there. Like his shoulders are hunched forward, and he's also looking up. I think this is John Cena, I'm not sure, but you can see he's looking up. His neck connects here. This is the back clavicle, and this is the actual clavicle up front here. And you can see the veins connecting into the V shape here again. And let's take this and try to recreate a similar kind of thing like we just did, but with the more muscular neck. So let's go through, and since he's looking up, it's kind of a hard angle, right? So we're going to draw the circle for the head here, but then as you can see the chin is coming out, so we're going to draw this line for the chin, this line for where the jaw is and where it separates from the neck. And as you can see, this is where the vein is going to come down from the neck, right? Because this is the side of the neck, and this is where it connects to the back clavicle. Calling it that makes me feel so silly. You know, this head's gonna be thicker. He's gonna have ears and shit, but we're not worried about ears and shit, are we? We don't give a fuck about ears. So here it's gonna make that V shape, so keep that in mind. And then here is where the Adam's apple is gonna stick out, so we're gonna leave a little shading for that. And then here's some shading to show the bottom of the jaw, right? Then here is where it curves out, like here, right? Well, actually, let's follow the musculature he has. Let's do it in blue since it's kind of hard to see the red on his skin. It kind of goes up like that a bit when it connects here. And the clavicle isn't so pronounced, but you can still see how it connects here. So we're going to go ahead and do that line. And then where the vein would make a V shape is where that would be. And the other one would be over here. So let's go ahead and delete that. Erase that, rather. And then we're going to draw the curved muscle again there. And we can't see it on the picture, but it's going to be easy to decide where his shoulders are, depending on the curve of the clavicle. So these are up. And since we already know that the clavicle connects nicely to the shoulder, as previously drawn, we can surmise where this is going to end up by how it's drawn there. And you can make them, you can make the shoulder widths thicker or more slender. I'm just kind of going with it, really. So, and then down here you can have the sternum, which usually comes right down from the clavicle after it connects like that, and that's where it would be in between the pecs, which is what you can also use a bit of shading to define, right? So let's draw really quick again the wrinkles we would have here, and the pecs would come down, and the sternum would actually extend a bit more, because I'm not too worried with the proportions of the rest of it, because I'm just focusing on shoulders right now, because none of this is planned, but we'll see what happens. And then, again, using blue for a reference line this time, we would have the shoulder come down here, and we would have this muscle come down, and then we have the ribs that would go down there, but then we have the waist under the ribs and stuff. And then we could easily have the arm come out here, and let's say it's outstretched this time. We would connect to that in a different way. So, you know, there we go. There's some of that. Boop. And then over here, we have a neck that's kind of more outstretched, and she's turning to look to the right. And we can see more about how the vein would come here and connect to the V of the clavicle, which you can't see too clearly in this image here, but we are going to go ahead and try to emulate that really quickly. So, going back to blue, actually, I prefer drawing in blue. We are going to draw the full head here, and then kind of fix that up. Here's where the chin would come out, and we're not going to worry about the rest of the face. Here's where the nose would be, though. And then the jaw would come up softly, and then here is where we would have the ear and whatnot. So let's draw, well, erase that sloppy back of the head there. So here you can see the round of the back of the head with the neck coming down, then it connects to the back clavicle again, right? So let's get rid of that. Ooh! I want to get rid of everything. So then here's the same back of the head that we just pointed out, and this is going to come down and it's going to curve out like it does there. And there's a little line here you can see for definition, but that's only if you're worrying about shading and stuff like that. So from behind the ear is where we have the jugular coming from, that still connects to the clavicle to make that kind of V, right? So let's focus on that. So that's going to come down here, and then we're going to want to redraw the clavicle, so that's where that could be coming in, right? There. And since you can't actually see it because it's covered in her clothes, we're going to learn to improvise really quick. So here's where the chin ends, and we're going to want to draw that, and then we're going to want to go through and soften up these lines really quick, okay? So let's draw this slope. See? It comes out more straight here, but let's do this for emphasis on the part that would be curved here and here, okay? So here's where that would be, and then here, since this is a V shape, you would have the clavicle connect from about here, and then it would go back out, and depending on the perspective, this shoulder would be a lot closer and smaller than this shoulder, because the perspective is farther away. So then we have the sockets, right? So let's use red for reference lines here. Boop, boop. Two different. There we go. Okay, cool. So then we have that there. So let's draw the side here, and then we have the the arms coming down really quick, but then we're going to have the breasts really quick just for reference, and then here's the sternum coming down again. And then over here, though, we're going to draw the fold for the breast really quick, but it's a smoother line than this. These are connected, but these are not because this is at more of an angle, so that's going to be how that looks. Actually, that's going to... Whoa! We're going to want this to be... What am I doing? Okay, I'm getting lost in all of my key commands. So, okay, there we go. Everything's fixed. My hand is in the right spot to press keys now. This is actually going to be a bit farther out from where I drew it, so it can connect to the ball of the shoulder there, because that's where that muscle is, right? So then let's go back and draw a reference line for where the back is going to come in, and then we are going to have where the ribs are. Right, and then we're going to have the fat of the breast come in, and that is where this line is going to be. And then this is where the arm would come down again, so you see less of the arm, it's at an angle. But we're focusing on shoulders, not all that, but all that's still pretty important, but it's not the focus of this video. So when it's at an angle, you can still see the V that connects here, and you can always guesstimate from reference where you can continue off with the drawing. And again, as previously shown, these connect into a single line on the shoulder. It goes from 2 lines to 1. And you could always draw another shadow here to show that there is a bit of a gutter. Because you can also see in this image over here that there is one. Actually, let's enlarge this again. So you can see this, it creates the gutter, but the pit is very small here because she's not hunched forward, but you can still tell where the musculature is and stuff. And also sometimes there are more muscles in the neck than just the, you know, the main ones in the jugular vein and whatnot. You could also draw that line there, but it's very faint. And you don't want to make the neck look all gross and stuff unless that's a point of the character or the person you're drawing and whatnot. So, I guess what's to remember about the neck, though, when it connects into the shoulder, is that there's the pit here, and then besides the vein here, there's going to be a ridge here. So you're going to always want more shading there, as well as between the V of the clavicle here where it connects. Because, you know, but it's less of one when the head is turned. Alright, so moving on. Now, here's a side view with the neck pushing forward and kind of up, because she's hunched forward, so you can see the pit from the side. But it's different. It's different here. For this one, we are going to actually just trace over it really quick to show you where everything is, and then we're going to try drawing it ourselves. So I'm going to use red for reference. So here we're going to come up, there's the chin, and then there's the round of the head, right? And the ear for reference. So here's the neck. It's going to come out of where the clavicle is, and then using blue, we're going to tell where our pit is. And this is the back clavicle. Oh my god, it's going to be right here. But that's not going to be too pronounced. So you can draw a little line there. And then we have the jugular coming from behind the ear to meet here. And then you can kind of see where it connects. And then here you can see the clavicle, and this is where the other one comes in like that. And then as you can see, though, the shoulder hunches forward, so we're going to draw a ball here, and this is where the arm would go. Boom. And this is kind of where the scapula would be. So, we'd have a bit of a line there depending on how hunched her shoulder was, but I can't really tell. So. Then obviously, making these lines a bit dimmer, let's go through with blue really quick. I'm gonna show you what's gonna be on the other side. So this is the other shoulder, right? And this would continue to slope here and connect over here, and then you'd have a pit on the other side of where that is. This would also connect, and this is the line where the other breast would meet, so, you know, Wow, that looks really messy, but I hope I got my point across. So let's erase all our lines here, and we're going to make this a bit smaller so we have more room for our drawing. So over here, drawing in blue again, we're going to have the circle for the head, and then we're going to work on bringing the chin up and around here, and then we're going to have the ear as a marker for where the vein is going to come in, right? So now that we have the chin, as we can see, that line still comes down, and it's going to come down in a curve. And then it kind of dips into the clavicle. So now that we got our neck, we can go to the back of the head, where it goes in, and then it jets out into the back. And then back here, we have where our clavicle comes like that again, and then it comes up, and then switching back to red, we're going to have our pit for reference, and then switching back to blue, and this is where that back clavicle would still be. And then we're going to draw, excuse me, we're going to draw the ball of the arm actually in red, and then we're going to have that punched forward. And then we have the same shoulder over here. Man, this looks like it's at a different angle entirely, doesn't it? That's still not terrible. And then we still have that coming back down. And then the other muscle. So, you know, there you go. Here's that. And, whoa, my tablet is doing all kinds of weird stuff. And then here we have a close-up of this man's neck connected to his body. I suppose this image is good for really just showing off what the Adam's apple looks like, because his neck isn't too stretched out, he just looks like standing with good posture. Also good practice because he's facing a different direction than the woman. So we're going to go through, we're going to draw the bottom of his head. Here is his chin, and then this is where the jaw would connect, and then here's the bottom of the ear for reference for where the vein would go. Here's the back of his head. Then here's that slope again. Here's the back. Here's where that bone would be, right? So now here's his neck. We're going to just forget about the Adam's apple right now, and we're going to draw straight down to the clavicle. And then here is where his torso is, where it connects to the arm. So we're going to draw a very faint red line there. And then here is his shoulder. And then actually, with a red line, I'm going to go back over this and bring it out a bit more because the perspective looks a bit weird. So, and then another red line for, another red line, I mean, for the ball of this shoulder because it's way closer, and I keep not drawing that line out far enough. Boom. And this line is going to come in from here, which is the clavicle, and this is his pec. It goes straight from the clavicle into the pec. He doesn't have like that little dip there because his clavicles aren't so pronounced, so we are going to keep that in mind. So his clavicles are actually going to be less defined on the bottom, but we're still going to see them on top here. Alright, so now that we got that, we are going to go through and draw our Adam's apple. As you can see, it just kind of comes out a bit right here. Oh, I'll switch colors to see. See, we go like that and like that. And then if we want to take red really quick and like shade where that shadow would be, because this isn't just like a divot coming out, it has its own dimension, it's going to be kind of round, and we want to keep that in mind. And then when we go through and draw the veins on the neck, we're going to, as you can see, the shading here, it's darker here and then the light hits here because of where his vein is. You can always kind of count on it to start from behind the ear and then go to the V of the neck. Right here and then right here where that's turned, as you can see. So, and then there's that muscle that's coming up from behind it again. So I'm going to actually delete what we have in here so far and kind of draw it fresh because it got kind of messy. So that's going to come from behind here. We're going to have that behind here. And then, oh, there's the shading that got erased on our Adam's apple. And then there's another line there that kind of comes down from where that is, because sometimes Adam's apples have like a distinct another V shape around it. But again, that depends on the definition of the character or person that you're going to be drawing. And then off this image, we can still see his arm coming down here. So we're going to I'm going to try to draw that in for a better understanding, because that's where that would come in. And then his pectorals would kind of be off to the side. And with men, they don't stick out too much, but you can still, you know, make out where they are. Because even though men don't usually have like full-on breasts, like sometimes chubbier dudes or, you know, guys with bigger pectorals, their chest still sticks out a bit. Like, and that's important to know when it connects to the shoulders, right? Like here, it still sticks out a bit because that's a muscle. It's not going to be flat. No matter what guy you meet, he's not going to have a completely flat chest unless he's like, I don't know, just super skinny or something. So there's that. And here we have an image of the arms at the side going out. So we already know from before how to draw a side view of necks, right? So now we're going to take that and put it into practice with the arm being out forward. Boom. So I'm going to erase the rest of this image because we only want to focus on the shoulder. Oh no! I forgot part of it! Okay. Okay. There we go. And now for this we're going to trace over it again so we can tell where all the muscles and stuff are. Okay, sorry for the noise there. I have to move everything around. So make this blue again. I love drawing with blue in case you can't tell. It's really easy on my eyes, okay? Alright, so going back to the brush, we're going to start with this woman right here. We're going to trace over. Actually, I might need to. Let me change the contrast here. Right? Boom. Okay, there we go. Now we can actually see that better. And then it's going to go up here. And then there's under the chin. Then here's your ear for reference. And then we're going to skip drawing the arm really quick. We're going to go straight through. And we're going to go over her rib cage, through the back, and then over her back muscle. This is where that part would be, right? So now in red lines, we're going to go through. And here's going to be the line of the jaw where it connects to the clavicle. And here's going to be our pit, which we'll shade in red and blue to define it. So there's the side of the neck again. And then here's the pit. But since the arm is raised, that pit is going to be more defined in other ways. But since the arm is raised, we can't totally see it. So now that that's out of the way, actually let's draw her just really quick, because that's still going to be there no matter what. So now that we have our arm, we can also lighten up the line that goes through there. And in red, because it's going to stick out a lot more from the basis of the blue, we are going to want to draw the shoulder coming up over here, and you can see kind of where it would go into the shoulder blade, which would come down here. And this is the bone here, and this is kind of where that would meet. And then there's a whole muscle that goes throughout here, a couple of them actually. So we're going to put the ball of the arm here because it's reaching forward. And here's the trapezius muscle, I believe, and that's going to go up, right? So now that we got the ball of the arm is going to come out that way. We're not going to worry about the rest because we're focusing on the shoulder portion. So that would go like that. And now we're going to go through and trace over all of this to kind of simplify what this is going to look like and get rid of the pit here because we don't need it, but that was just for reference to understand what we're doing, right? So combining these down and minimizing transparency, we're going to trace over everything here. Actually, let's grab a different color really quick. We're going to trace over everything, like the ear, and we're having the neck come down here, and then here is where our shoulder would be, and then here's the vein, and you can see that coming up from the shadow. And actually, let's draw on the back of the head, and then here's where the neck would come on, and it connects back. Like I said, here's our shoulder. You don't see the pit too much because the shoulder up front is going to be covering that, and then this could be drawn with one line, and then the side view of the breast would be in one line, depending on how big you want it to be. Then you could draw it cupping here if it's a bit bigger and more outward, but getting rid of the lines underneath, that is the that looks really ugly, but it's still the basic idea. You can clean that up a bit more because this is going to be a bit more rounder when you actually go through and draw it yourself. There we go. So, you know, I think that covers that part nicely. So now let's go through and cover the guy. But let's cover him from the same angle as the lady over here. So, you know, just to keep a bit of consistency. Let's go through with red again really quick, and actually, let's go through with blue. We're going to go through and get the jaw again. We're going to get the ear for reference on where our vein is going to go. Then let's actually go through and get the back of the head in, because I didn't when I first sketched her. And then the neck is going to come down, right? Then we have this coming down, and there's the back muscle here that we've drawn previously on the other side view of the more muscular guy. And then he has a bigger muscle covering his shoulder blade, so that's going to pop out like that. And then here's going to be his chest coming down, right? But then we have the side of the pectoral and whatnot. We have his rib cage and then his waist. Alright, so we're going to draw the ball of the shoulder really quick, and then we are going to go through and shade in our pit, because the muscle and bone is going to come down from here, and that's where it connects to the shoulder, and the clavicle is going to be more covered because it comes down from here. So let's get rid of the pit really quick and go through and draw, excuse me, our vein that is going to come down to the clavicle, which would go in here, right? So then we are going to shade in our pit again. And now that his arm is out, we're going to draw it coming forward like that, like we did with the woman. And then here is his bicep and tricep. It's going to come up like that again. And then here's the fold of the armpit. And it seems, because his muscle is thicker, there's going to be a line more connecting to the pit and the muscle. So there's going to be two lines here as opposed to what looks like a smooth one here. It's going to connect there as well because of the muscle. Yeah. And let's go through and get, let's make that smaller. Let's go through and get rid of that line. So, there he is. Okay. And then you can see that there's also more of a curve here because of that Adam's apple. Ah! Oh no, I'm on the wrong tool. So it's going to come out and be like that, though. Because there's the neck, there's the Adam's apple, but you don't have to be that precise, you just draw that line. So let's go through and do what we did with her. Let's lighten that up, and then let's go through and trace over another slightly different color. Let's make this a little bit lighter. So we're going through again. There's his chin, and it's going to connect to his jaw. There's the ear for reference. And then here is his neck. Here's the vein coming down, and here's the clavicle. Oh, I'm drawing that on the same layer as the other one. Let's start that over. And the ear for reference. And once again the neck. And then there's the vein. And here's the clavicle. And then we're going to ignore shading in the pit in attention to the arm here. And as it's forward, you're going to see where these lines connect. And then to the back of the neck, there is this muscle that's over the back clavicle, and then the shoulder blade. Because this is going to stick out more when the arm is pushed forward, because the muscle needs to, you know, move the arm. And his muscles are clearly way more defined than, you know, someone else's. So, putting that away and that away, you can see that that's where he goes. And then if we colored in the pit, that would be about there again. This would connect to the clavicle in our usual V. You could add shading here for the Adam's apple. And then this would connect there, because he seems to have his chest pooped out a bit more forward, to me it looks like. So, now that we got that out of the way, let's continue. It looks like there's a lot more images left, but they're all kind of congruent examples that I'm going to be showing together. Really quick, we're going to go through and look at the back now really quick, and then after that it's going to just be examples to kind of practice with. So, zooming out here. Boom. Actually, I feel like the other one is better, so we're going to get rid of that. And we're going to go with this one, actually, because it shows the muscles off better. And I think we're going to be okay without having such a simple photo of the back, right? So let's merge that. And with the blue, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to sketch his head. And we're going to see his ear here, and this is where his jaw would come up. Connect to the ear. And then here's the back of the head, and then here we have the neck, and here is the back muscle in the neck. And then here it's turning around, and then it connects to that muscle again. And then here we're going to have the ball of the shoulder, right? So let's draw the ball of the shoulder. And then here is going to be this line. And as you can see a bit of the spine here. So we're going to draw this. And then go through, draw the line of the spine. And then here, his muscle is up a bit because his shoulder is like hunched forward. This one is normal, but this one is hunched forward because he's moving his arm back. So we're going to see how that affects the muscle. And here's going to be the other ball of the shoulder here. So let's go through and we're going to make that red to define it. So let's go through, make these red. Now we're going to draw over. So here on the back, you're going to have like one singular line for like the arm, and then, yeah, it's going to connect to the elbow and kind of come down. And then here, we're going to draw that with red. That's going to come down like that. Then we're going to see his waist. And so let's leave that at that. Then here is going to be the muscle that we had stretched out on our previous guy when his arm was reaching forward. This is that same muscle that we drew the double line for. But as you can see, it's more relaxed and we can't really see it as much. Actually, it's actually going to be a bit lower, so let's draw it down here. And then here, we have a more pronounced shoulder blade, which is where that whole muscle connects to. And there's another one there, but I don't know what it's called. So, and then as you can see, that line there is more defined because the muscles here are going to be a bit bunched up because of how this one is moving up. So let's draw. Actually, let's move it back to red. We're going to draw his rib cage. Now it's back to blue. So as we can see, this muscle is going to come up here and connect to the arm. And here's the pit of the arm. We're going to come through. We're going to draw his back. And then the curve of his waist and his butt. And then we're going to see where this bunches up here, it's going to bunch up even more here because the muscle is hunched and a bit more tense now because of the way the arm is. So then the arm is going to come through back this way, right? So we're going to want that line. It's going to be here. And then right here again, the skin is going to like be folding a bit more. So we want to break up that line a bit because that's where that's moving. Okay, and as you can see, there's a line. And then again, we're going to have the arm, but we're not going to worry about like adding too much detail to the arm because I made it a bit more up, so it's a bit more exaggerated. And because I want to emphasize that when the arm from the back view, that the muscles get all bunched up. Like there's a line here, there's a line here, and then you can see the muscle twists, and this also bunches up. You know, it's contracting because that's what muscles do. So let's go through. We're going to dim that a bit. We're going to go through over with a different color and then simplify this so we can tell what's going on. So here's his jaw from the side. Here's that. And here's actually where the jugular would be since we didn't get that. And here's the wrinkle of the neck turning. There's the line. There's the bunched up muscle. There's the shoulder. Oh, whoa, that got messy. Here's the line of the shoulder. Here's the line where it bunches up. That's going to connect to the line where it connects to the back, and we're actually going to put that out a bit more because I gave him too much of a waist. And that's going to go through and connect to the shoulder. And then here's the line where that connects, and then it goes back into the arm. And we got the elbow. And then here again is this muscle. And then we have the shoulder blade here, and then we have this other one, and then we can draw this line since it's detail about how it's wrinkling up. And we can actually go through and define that line a bit more. And then going through, again, here's that arm, and then it connects to the elbow. And actually, just to add a bit more detail, we can go through and draw the arm so we have an understanding of it really quick, that it connects to the elbow. And as you can see, this is where his hand would come down and touch his back, but we don't have the focus on the arm, so it just kind of looks like a blob right now. What are those? Are those supposed to be fingers, Tori? Anyway, so I'm gonna have the lines there. That's what it would look like, more simple, actually, plus the waist here as well. And then there's actually the line for the spine, which you don't actually have to draw when you simplify your sketch, but it's a good idea to have it when you're trying to get the base down for everything. So, and that is a more muscular back from the back. It's important to remember that the muscles are going to bunch up and stuff like that. Now here we just have a more simple kind of image which we are going to use for another tracing example. So let's go through. We're going to make that a bit bigger. And I'm going to zoom out here. So we're actually going to move this because we're going to go off of the image when we trace it. So actually, yeah, there we go. Let's go through with blue again because I'm going to lighten this up. And I'm just going to point out where everything is because now she isn't nearly as muscular as the other guy was. So let's go through. We're going to have the back of her head. And then this is how the neck would come up into it. There's the back muscle here, and this is where the spine would continue, like on the man we just drew. So, and then this is where the straight line would be connecting everything, but it's not prominent in her so much as it was the other guy. And then here we're going to just do a guideline for the spine. Go through, we're going to draw in the lines we see here for the scapula / shoulder blade. And then we're going to use red really quick, and we're going to draw the ball of the arm again, because as we see the back clavicle, oh my god, it comes over here, and then that also connects smoothly into one line. And this is where the arm would kind of come down and connect. And then as we see here, it's a single line into her ribs, but then we also have the line where it connects to the armpit, right? So, you know, this is just to understand where everything kind of falls, because this is the muscle. This is actually more where the bone there would be, I think. I never said I was an expert on anatomy, right? Actually, let's see how long this is so far. Oh, this is an hour long soap already. Whatever. So, yeah, it's gonna be that. This is gonna go through here. There's your hips, but then, yeah. So that's how that is going to connect to the sorry, I'm talking so slow because I'm trying to pay attention to what I'm doing. But yeah, so now that we have that, we can get rid of that really quick, and we can kind of see where everything kind of is, and then we can go through and actually kind of delete our guidelines, because the back is already kind of simplified for her, because there aren't a lot of muscle definitions or anything like that. So you can still keep the line for the spine and whatnot, but that is how a more slender frame would be from behind. You can still see where the muscles come up here, where the shoulder blades are, and where it connects as well. And as we can see, whoa, that's the eraser. Let's make a new layer actually really quick with red. Again, that's the ball. It would connect to the arm. Here's the back of the muscle. Here's where the bone would be, and here is the shoulder blade. And you can see how everything is connected. Actually. Okay. I'm so sorry for all the noise. Now we're going to go back over here. And his muscles aren't all bunched up. And I just want to show this as an example. We're not going to do any drawing with this specific image, but as we can see over here, his neck comes down, similar to hers over here, and then there's the line that continues over the spine, right? And then the spine is going to continue to go down here. Here's the shoulder blade, and then there's the muscle, and there's the ball of the shoulder right here. And as we can see, the muscle is much more defined, so his back is going to curve a lot more because of that muscle. So, yeah, there you go. And then here again, this is just another example image. We have the shoulder outstretched, because here is the pit in the ball of the arm. That's not the same as the pit in the neck over here. So as we can see, this is raised, and this pit here is what's going to translate to be this here, because that's a dimple. When you raise the arm, it's between those bones and the ball of your shoulder, not between your clavicle and your neck. So we can see the skin bunching up where it did when we drew it from the profile, because this muscle is going to come out when you raise your arm as well, whether you're male or female. Your top half is always going to look a bit wider when you put your arms up straight out like this. And as you can see, it bunches up the muscles again, like it did before. So, moving on. And this is just showing a bit more of the unique kind of curve we have here. Like, her muscles are bunching up as well. Like, see here, we drew a smooth back, and let's bring that image back up. We can see that her back is very smooth, while over here it is still very smooth, but you can see the definition of the muscles when her arm is raised up, like having that crease there. So really quick, as an exercise, let's go back to this image. We're going to erase this, and we are going to erase this part of the arm and get rid of this half of the body. And really quick, we're going to do a new sketch layer. Actually, let's get rid of that whole reference image together. So we have a whole new layer here, and I'm going to use red as my example. So here's the muscle. It's going to be a bit more bunched up, and here's the ball of the shoulder for reference, and here's the ball of the shoulder over here. It's going to be a bit more raised. And here, it's smoother, but here, we're going to bring it out a little bit more, and then going to bring that line up. And then we're going to make a dimple there like that was in the man, because her arm is going to have the muscles more compressed, right? Because it's going to be going up. And then from there is where you draw the muscle. Like, I made her arm a bit thicker than it is over here, but I don't really care, to be honest. So that's what that would be, and then you would see that, and then here's where the shoulder blade would be, because that would change. Then here's where the elbow is, and there's the arm going up. So as you can see, the muscle here looks more like, oh, let's make this smaller. Looks like this muscle here is going to curve here, and you can see that this is the ball of the arm. It's higher. So there's that. And here we can see the shoulder shrugged. Here is going to be another example of something we're going to try to draw. So pasting this here and making the image bigger again, we are only going to focus on her clavicles and stuff, and we're going to focus on the fact her arm is shrugged from the front. So we're going to go through, and we're not going to trace out the definition of this one, we're just going to go straight for it. So here's the circle for her head. Since he's facing more this way, we're going to have guidelines for the face. Here's the bottom of the nose, the mouth, just in case. And then this is where the jaw would go. Here's the ear for lines. Then here, we're going to have the neck kind of curve in, and then it's going to curve out into that muscle. And then we're going to draw the ball of the shoulder, where we best think it would be. Draw a bit higher than this line, because that's where it's going to connect. Because the clavicle is going to come down since the shoulder is shrugged, and we're going to have a more pronounced kind of gap here, like we've had before. Like right here, you can see there's more shading, etc. And then here, we're going to have the vein come in again, and we're going to draw the definition of the clavicle. And following that V shape, we're going to guess, because there's a lot of strong shading in this image, we're going to be more precise with where our neck is going to be. And hers is going to stretch down here, and you're still going to have more of a pit because this arm is flat down, as you can see by the way it's lifted. So we're going to draw it without any hair in the way. So that's going to come down like that, but the skin here is going to be a bit more bunched up again. And then we're going to draw this coming down, and we're going to draw the line. Actually, yeah, let's draw the arm again here. Here's a line, and then this is where the breast would be. Then through here is where the back would be, the ribs, yada yada. So we're going to go through and draw this ball of the shoulder, but it's actually going to be a bit lower than that. Even though it's raised, we can tell that this one is shrugged, but this one is lower because of the way she's positioned. And actually, really quick, let's go through and add some shading to the bottom of the chin here so we can tell she's looking up. Cool. So we're going to draw this line here to represent her rib, and we're going to draw this line here to represent where her breast falls. It's going to be a single line like we've drawn before. And then it's going to still be a single line even when the arm comes up here, because it's going to come up from behind. So we're going to have the shoulder up here, and then the arm is going to come up, and then there's the fold of the arm, and this time around I'm going to draw it going, oh wow, that's messy. I'm going to draw it coming behind her head because, I don't know, I just like how that looks better. It's going to go there, and then because we need the arm to be the same length, the wrist would actually come up to here, and that's where behind the head would be. So we can draw some like fingers here or something to show like, hey, my hand didn't disappear. And actually, to make something more clear, we're going to erase this over here because that was a really messy sketch, and we're going to go through over in red, and I'm going to redraw this because that comes here, but you're going to see this muscle, and you're still going to see a bit of a gap over here, but you're going to see this muscle bunch up when it comes over. So, and this is still going to be one line. It connects to the breast. So, yeah, there's that. And then moving along, we have a side view of the arm all the way up, where before it was straight out, now it's up. We are going to draw the pit of the armpit. We're going to draw the armpit, okay? So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to enlarge this. I'm going to put it off over here because we don't need to worry about the rest of the arm. We just want this meaty part of the pit. So, this is another one we're going to be tracing over just to understand the anatomy a bit better, because we've already drawn a neck up like this. We've already drawn the side, but we want to understand the armpit, which I don't have any diagrams for, but you can refer back to the anatomy diagram that I'm going to have in the description if you want. Well, this is drawn. So, what are we going to do here? We're going to go through with the red line first, and because she's looking up, we're going to draw this here, the shading from the bottom of the jaw, her ear for reference on where the vein would be, the rest of her face. And we're going to go through, and because now blue is our reference, because it's just easier to see, this is going to be the back of her head, right? So then her neck is going to actually fall over here, and this is going to become the back. And then this is where the front of it's going to be. And this is where the vein is going to come through, and this is where the clavicle would be, okay? So now that we got that, we're going to go through, and I'm going to make a new layer for this actually. This is where the shoulder, this is where the clavicle would be. This is the clavicle here. And then this coming up is our shoulder. This is going to be the ball of the shoulder. Let's draw that in blue for reference. And then, actually let's draw that on the other, there. So that's there, and then further in red, we are going to draw where the arm would be completely. It doesn't line up totally with the pit or the ball of the arm because I'm kind of just trying to, I'm basically just trying to get the proportions down. We'll see. So we're going to go through, and I'm actually going to connect that really quick on second thought. We're going to have her rib cage here, that's where it comes down. And then this is the other breast, but this is the breast that's going to be on this side, and as you can see, it doesn't have a lot of definition, probably mostly because it's covered. And we're focusing on the armpit anyway, not the breast. Eraser, let's make it smaller. So, erasing all this, we now have our basic structure, right? So as we can see, we have the vein coming down, we have the breasts where they would be, and actually let's erase this line. And fix that up. Okay, cool. And now we have everything, but we just need to work on the definition that would be inside the pit, okay? So now that we have that open, zoom in line, and in blue, I'm going to draw the muscle. This is where the clavicle would come up and over, as well as the shoulder muscles. I don't know the names for anything anymore. And this is where more shading would be, because this is the pit. We're going to have a line here, and this is where the arm starts to come out of the pit. As we can see, there's more shading in here, as far as that goes. See, there's that, ooh, there's this V here, but if we go through and show everything up again, we have that V here. So this is going to be the basic look of the pit. So now we're going to combine those and put those down as well and get rid of our reference. You're going to trace over and make another simple image with purple again. Let's make this purple a bit darker. So let's go through. We're going to draw the jaw again. Here's the ear. There's the curve of the neck. There's the pit. And then over here is the breast. It's going to come in. There's the rib cage. And then here's the breast coming through, and this is where the sternum would be. So that would go straight through. That's the sternum. And then here is where the breast would cup a bit. And now we're going through. We're drawing the clavicle. Here's the shoulder and its muscle coming up now. Let's draw the top of the head really quick so we don't forget. And now here's the arm. And this is where this folds over, and then here's the armpit, and you can just do a bit of shading here to show that that's where that's coming out. Here's the elbow. Then here's a bit of muscle on the back. And then it connects to the whole of the back. So now that we got that, we can get rid of that. And as we can see, this comes in. Actually, let's make that red again. And layer. Boom! There we go. So we got that drawn. This comes. I keep putting it on the wrong layer. This comes through here. This is the shoulder. The ball of the arm comes through. It's in the pit. It makes a V shape, which is where that pit goes in. And then here's where the pit would be on the neck, between the neck and the shoulder. And this is actually where the vein would be for the jugular again. So now we know how the arm would look when it's raised from the side, because when it's raised from the front, really quick, let's do an example. Actually, let's move over, okay, and enlarge that again. We're going to have the head, and we're going to move the jaw. We're going to have the neck here. It's going to connect to the side, and then we're going to draw the clavicle going up like it is here, except it's not on the side. And then we're going to have the skin where it's going to be scrunched up in the arm. And here we are going to say is the sternum. And then here is where the ribs would fall, and let's draw the whole top of the body. Now this muscle would come out, and then here is where the pit would connect to the arm. Here's the elbow, here's the rest of the top of the arm. And then we'd have the breast pull up a bit. So here it pulls up a bit. If the arms were down, they would look a bit more saggy, but because the muscle is pulling up, it does the same with the breast muscle. Well, the muscle under the breast, I mean. And then, like, this comes down through here. This would still come down over here, so we would still have a bit of a line here. But actually, what we would want to do, since I actually didn't pay any attention when I drew that line, we're going to go back, and this would come through, and this would be more congruent with the breast. So this is that. That's this. That's that. Boom. And here we have 3 more images. Let's see what they are. Yes, this is just another example, because we already drew it from the back, but as we can see, actually, yeah, let's trace over this one really quick, comparably to the last one we did. So, I actually think this is the same one as before. So, marking the transparency on that. Let's make it a bit more. So we can still see this is where the ribs would connect, and here's the shoulder, here's where the meat of it would go, here's her neck, the line in the middle connecting her spine to her neck, the backbone's here, and then here's her spine again. But this time the shoulder blades going to kind of go that way. I mean, they still go this way, but here we can see the muscle peeking out more. Here's the shoulder blades are still going to pop like that. But we still have the ball of the arm that's going more forward, so I'm going to go through, I'm going to pull up red again. So we have the ball of the arm, they're up more, and this is where we have more folding of the skin. Don't be afraid to draw that in there, because the skin folds when you do things, and a lot of people are afraid to draw that because it's ugly or whatever. But, you know, I think it's, I don't know, it just like adds a layer of realism to things. Even if it's cartoony, it just kind of shows, hey, this character has dimension and whatnot. So now that we have that down, we can see that muscle comes through here, and then these ones pop out because the arms go up like we discussed before. So let's put that down and get rid of this, and now we're going to go over this in just red and simplify it, and actually draw it on a different layer this time. Excuse me, let me actually get a sip of water here. My mouth is really dry. Okay, so let's zoom in so I can see what I'm doing. We're gonna go through, and we actually are well, I'm going to make my brush bigger, and we're actually just going to simplify these lines to see how that would also look. Because you can still get away with using thick lines even if your work is more realistic. You just have to know what you're doing. And this is where that would fold, and that's where that would fold. And then the arm would come up, and then it would still pop out like that a bit, but you can still draw a simple curve. Here's the line for the spine. Just more of the spine. This is where the waist would curve in under the muscle. And then here we go. You know, some people have back dimples, so I'm going to draw that so back dimple people aren't left out. And then here I'm just going to draw some lines. Even though they weren't in the image we just traced, some people, like I said, their muscles are more defined, like the guy we had in the back, so I think that's going to, you know, just look kind of good. So let's hide that layer really quick, and as you can see, there is still, you know, there's still work to be done. Like, instead of making this flat like that, I just use those as reference lines. This gives it some more dimension. The ball of the shoulder, the muscle bunching up that goes here. And this is where the ball would be, but we smoothed it out. And also, you know, this is where the head would be and whatnot, but we don't give a fuck about the head right now. So, boom! And I forgot what the last two images were. Oh, same thing with the dude. Okay, so as we can see, he's more muscular, and the muscle that pops out here is going to pop out here as well. And then when his arms go up, his shoulders are actually up a bit more. Like, hers are more up front, but his are going to be more defined, but he's still going to have that wrinkle by his neck. And as we can see, we still have the muscle from the shoulder blades before the line from the spine and whatnot. So yeah, I don't think we need to go over that image because it'd basically be like redrawing that, just with more definition. And here, though, we have the arms closer together. Like, here we have this image, and the arms are farther apart, but you can see here they're closer together, so there's much more of a fold to the skin. And then when we draw this line, I guess there is none really there on this woman, but the balls of her arms are a bit more defined against the muscle over here. And yeah, so just remember, don't be afraid to draw folds in the skin, don't be afraid to smooth lines out, and you know. So I guess as a short review, clavicle, the muscle that goes over the chest, and the pit of the arm, and the actual arm. Then from the back, we have the supraspinatus, which I've been calling the black clavicle, the back clavicle this whole time. And here's the muscle that would connect to the shoulder blade, which is here, which is why this muscle bunches up when the shoulder blade moves, like further down. And with sexual dimorphism, men usually have broader shoulders, women usually have a more slender frame with their shoulders being broader, theirs being more relaxed with smoother looking clavicles, as we can see here. Oh, and before, when the arms were raised, we discussed that the breast would look more saggy without the arm being raised, and this is a good example of that. They have more of a curve as opposed to being pulled up by the muscle. And here we can see his chest isn't flat. There is shading under the pecs as there is between the sternum. And once again, here's a demonstration of the pit between the shoulders. And here it is again, but less defined, but with more muscle in the neck. I still think this is John Cena. And you know, here's the pit of the neck, then there's the V shape continuing. And here's another decent side view again. We have the pit here, we have the ball of the shoulder coming around, and then the neck very gracefully just kind of has a curve to it. So, and then here it's the same, but there's a good view of the Adam's apple. Remember, it has dimension, and there's a bit of a pit there as well, and there's a pit here as well as a clavicle, but when there's more muscular, like here we can see the bottom of the clavicle. Here we cannot. Here is when the arms are reached out front. So we have this whole muscle that we've been discussing that comes out when the arm is raised up. Here it is, and there's the line for it. This line is going to be behind the breast. Keep that in mind, okay? And then we have the muscle connected to the shoulder blade. It's bunching up again because it has to move the arm all the way back. And then here's the line again. That would, trapezius? That would connect the trapezius to the... whatever this is. I only know so many muscle words. There's the back again. Do you have anything to say about these? Oh, yep. And remember, the pit in the arm is different from the pit in the neck. And when this is raised up, this is where that would fold as well, like is seen over here. That fold there is what would fold here, okay? And I don't have anything to say about anything else, so this is where I'm going to end the video. And the whole playlist ended as soon as I was done, so there's that. I hope that was helpful and that you enjoyed it. And, you know, yeah, I don't know how to end a video, so I'm just gonna end it now. See ya, bye!